He doesn't promise you ease. He won't charm you like Venus or inspire you like Jupiter. Saturn enters your life like a stone in your hand, heavy, quiet, and real. But when you learn to build with him, that's when you create something unshakable. Saturn is the architect of time, the gatekeeper of karma, and the sacred taskmaster of your soul. In this episode, we meet him fully through myth, astrology, and spiritual meaning to uncover what Saturn is really asking of you. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Forgotten Sky series. I am your host, Genevieve. Thank you for joining me once again. Today we are going to look at Saturn as archetype with his mythology, the spiritual meaning. So let's start of why Saturn matters. He is the planet that teaches you to become real. In astrology, some planets gives, other test, and Saturn does neither of them. Saturn builds you, while Jupiter expands and Neptune dissolve. Saturn focus and crystallize. He is the planet that says, this is where you must take full responsibility. This is what you cannot avoid, and this is your true work. If you only follow the fast planets like the Moon, Venus, or Mercury, your life might feel exciting but incomplete. Saturn is what makes life sustainable. Without him, there is no foundation. So let us try to think of Saturn as the inner architect of your life. He shows us where you are asked to grow, commit, endure, and mature. This can be your career, your family, your emotions, or your body, depending on your chart. But wherever he lives, he speaks the language of truth, effort, and spiritual adulthood. Let's look at the myth of Saturn first. That is the fall of the sky, the rise of time, and the shadow of control. Before Saturn, there was Uranus, the sky god, infinite and formless. He created the Titans, but feared their power. He pushed them back into Gaia's womb, suppressing what he has birthed. Gaia, suffering, called on her son, Kronos, whom we know as Saturn, to act. Saturn rose with a sickle and cut down the sky, severing creation from Creator. From this act come both fury and beauty. Aphrodite from the sea form. And Saturn then ruled, not with chaos, but with control, not with growth, but with containment. So he created the Golden Age, a time of perfect order, but no change. Nothing died, nothing aged, but nothing evolved neither. And like his father, Saturn, he also feared of the future, so he swallowed each of his children to prevent prophecy from unfolding. But one escaped, that was Jupiter, who would rise to overthrow Saturn, just as Saturn has overthrown Uranus. So the spiritual insight of this myth is about control and consequences. Uranus feared what he created. Saturn feared what he could not stop. Both tried to block evolution, and both were undone by it. That is Saturn's paradox. He gives structure to life, but if you cling to structure out of fear, he will become your prison. As astrological archetype, he represents structure, limit, time, and sacred accountability. He represents the bones of life. He rules Capricorn, the mountain goat, and traditionally Aquarius as well, the innovator who still needs form. So he governs everything that lasts, such as buildings, laws, boundaries, contract, authority, commitment, discipline, or maturity. And with Saturn in your birth chart, it can reveal where you feel delayed or insecure, where you carry karmic work, or where you must earn your self-respect, and where your greatest strength can be built through time. This is not about being good or bad. Saturn doesn't moralize. He constructs. And where Saturn lives in your chart is where your soul asks to become strong. The few key words we can relate to Saturn is about discipline, endurance, mastery, time structures, karmic lessons, the sovereignty, authority, and also responsibility. Think of Saturn not as a taskmaster, but the engineer of your life bridge. He asks, can this hold? Can you carry this truth? Or are you building something real? If we look at Saturn from a spiritual perspective, he is the guardian of the threshold and the architect of initiation. Saturn is known in spiritual astrology as the guardian of the threshold or the Lord of Karma. He stands between the visible world and the invisible, between the personal and the transpersonal planet. Before you can receive the gift of Uranus, that is an awakening, and Neptune, the divine love, or Pluto, the transformation, you must pass through Saturn. This means that to face your fear, growing up spiritually, letting go of ego control, and standing in integrity even when it is hard. So the spiritual teaching from Saturn is the initiator. He strips away illusion. He doesn't let you just skip steps. He shows you where your energy leaks and then teach you how to build a stronger container. You cannot bypass Saturn. You must meet him. But if you do, what you receive is true power, the power of having nothing to prove. Now let us look at Saturn in the natal chart. That represents your soul's sacred assignment in this lifetime. If we bring it into a more practical astrology, Saturn's house placement shows the area of life where your soul must build maturity. Your Saturn sign shows how you approach this work, and Saturn's aspect, how it talks to other planets, shows the complexity and support in your karmic journey. For example, if you have Saturn in your 4th house, you may have had a heavy or cold childhood. You must learn to parent yourself. Or you have Saturn in the 10th house. You may crave success, but only integrity will bring lasting recognition. Or Saturn square the moon. Emotional expression feels unsafe, but through healing, you become a grounded nurturer. You were not punished with Saturn. You choose him before birth as a soul curriculum. Where Saturn lives in your chart, your ego must feel not enough. But your soul knows it come here to build something lasting in that area. So planets, they do not operate in isolation. They are always in relationship, forming aspects or angles to one another. This aspect are like conversation. Some are flowing, some are tense, but all reveal something about how your inner world functions. And when Saturn forms an aspect to another planet, that planet becomes part of your karmic curriculum. Saturn either challenges, disciplines, or grants the expression of that planet. Now I'm going to talk about Saturn return. And if you are interested to look more deeply of your Saturn in your chart and with the transit planet movement, please contact me in my website jenniebifchong.com. Now I'm going to talk about Saturn return, which always marked an important turning point in our life. That represents the soul milestone of maturity and self-authority. The Saturn return is one of the most significant transits in astrology. It marks the moment Saturn returns to the exact zodiac degree and sign he occupied at the time of your birth, a full cycle of around 30 years. This is not simply an event, but an important initiation, an astrological mirror reflecting where you have grown and where you have avoided growth. Think of that as a cosmic checkpoint. You have walked the first arc of your life, what you have built, and are you ready for what next with integrity? There are typically 2 to 3 Saturn returns in a lifetime. Each one has a different spiritual focus, but all require truth, responsibility, and alignment. So the first Saturn return around the age of 28 to 30. The theme is about adulthood of the soul, becoming who you were always meant to be. By your late 20s, you have likely lived many roles: the child your parents needed, the student society rewarded, or the lover, the achiever, the wanderer, or the dreamer. But Saturn doesn't care about your title, he cares about your truth. And during your first Saturn return, he begins removing everything that isn't aligned with your soul's real path. This can be manifest as career shift, leaving unfulfilling jobs, or realizing your chosen path lacks meaning. Sometimes you lose work, sometimes you walk away, because the voice of your soul becomes louder than the voice of fear. Or a relationship breakdown. You may end long-term partnership that was built on comfort, not truth. Or you may realize you are ready to truly commit, not out of fantasy, but from grounded love. Saturn demands mature love. Or financial reality checks. Money becomes a mirror, not of success, but of sustainability. You begin making choices that secure your long-term well-being, not about for short-term pleasure. Debt, savings, and boundaries with resources always rise to the surface. And inner identity crisis. You may feel lost, restless, or empty. The roles you have played no longer fit, but the new self hasn't fully formed yet. This is the second cocoon, where discomfort becomes the raw material for evolution. We can look at it. The first Saturn return isn't meant to break you. It means to strip away what no longer serves. It teaches you that freedom without responsibility is hollow, and responsibility without authenticity is a cage. This is where your soul begins to take command of the incarnation. And the second Saturn return is around age 58 to 60. The main theme is the harvest and liberation, leaving only what matters. If the first Saturn return is about becoming an adult, the second is about becoming ageless. You are no longer defined by ambition, but by essence. This return marks the transition from outer responsibility to inner liberation. It is time to ask, what legacy am I leaving? What still matters? And what must be let go, even if it was once meaningful? Have I honored my time? And how do I want to live the rest of it? You may experience something like retirement or redirection, not necessarily quitting job, but quitting what feels dead. You may feel shift from career to calling, or from outer protection to inner creation. Many begin spiritual service, creative mentorship, or healing work. And the shedding of old identities. You may let go of parent as role, provider, or professional image. If you have been living for others, Saturn now demands, live it for yourself, not as ego, but in authenticity. It is a body and time awareness. Aging becomes real. Health limitations may arise, but they are not just punishment. They are signals of wisdom, calling you back into alignment with your body, your breath, and your space. Saturn teaches reverence for the physical vessel. And of course, there is relationship reconsidering. If you are in a marriage or long-term partnership, this time redefine what that relationship really is. It is still true. If you are single, it may be a time of deep peace or a chance to experience mature love without fantasy. So, this second return is not about status, it is about essence. Saturn now is asking, can you live the rest of your life without pretending? What you have repressed will rise, but so will your freedom. This is where you begin to mentor others, not by teaching, but by being. And the third Saturn return, around the age of 87 to 90. The main theme is the elder scrying, the final integration. Not everyone reached the third Saturn return, but for those who do, and I certainly wish I do, it is a sacred crossing point. The body is preparing to let go. The spirit is preparing to return. And the wisdom is ready to be passed on. At this stage, Saturn offers clarity without complication. You are no longer here to prove anything. You are here to complete the cycle. This phase often brings storytelling. Elderhood becomes a mirror. Your stories, your regrets, your joys, they become your final gift to the younger generations. The simplicity, a shedding of noise, rituals, nature, presence become your temple. And what about peace? If you have walked with Saturn, he will now walk beside you, and not as a weight, but as a companion. At this stage, it is not an ending, but a completion. Saturn now asks, do you live truthfully? Are you ready to return, whole, wise, and sovereign? As reflection, if we think of Saturn, his gift is not about comfort. It is authority rooted in our soul. Saturn is not your enemy. He is your sacred builder. He doesn't care how quickly you rise. He cares how deeply you root. He doesn't care what you achieve. He cares what you become in the process. And he is stripping away the illusions of success, the pretenses of identity, or the addictions to validation or shortcut that undermine your destiny. In return, he gives you something so endurance. He gives you self-respect, soul sovereignty, and a life built on what truly matters. So what Saturn is asking actually? He is asking us to slow down, to listen deeply and honor reality, to carry your karmic work with humility, not victimhood, to face what is difficult, not to suffer, but to grow strength, and commit to your path, not to be perfect, but to be present. When you stop avoiding Saturn, you stop avoiding your power. And when you walk with Saturn, your life becomes something that can weather any storm, because it was built with time, love, truth, and soul. So if you feel Saturn stirring something in your life, through challenge, pressure, or awakening, it is not a punishment. It is a call to align. Book a one-to-one astrology session with me to explore your personal Saturn placement, your karmic blueprint, and how to walk with clarity on your soul path. You will find the booking link in the description or visit my website at genevieveChong.com. And if this episode resonates, please share it, save it, and revisit it when Saturn speaks again. So should you listen to your ascendant, sun or moon? I think they are the three portals of guidance. Which message is yours? Listen to your ascendant sign, because this is the most practical and accurate placement for transit. And your ascendant determines how the houses or sign are laid out in your chart. And the sun sign represents your ego identity, your creative power, and your purpose. So it tests your sense of self, your confidence, and your direction in life. Listen to it if you want to understand how your sense of purpose is evolving. And I highly suggest you listen to your moon sign as well. The moon is your emotional body, your inner child, your heart's memory. So listen to your moon sign if you want to understand what patterns from your emotional past are being released, how your soul is learning, and the way you may feel tested. You are welcome to listen to all three, ascendant, sun, and moon, and reflect on how these different layers speaks to one another. Very often you will find thread of a single deeper message repeating through all these three portals. If you have Saturn in the first house, that is the weight of becoming. It is about your identity, sovereignty, and the long journey into selfhood. The first house governs the self, and it is your rising sign, the physical body, personality, instinctual identity, and how you meet the world. It is not who you become over time. It is who you appear to be from the start. So when Saturn is in the first house, it marks a soul who have chosen the path of earned identity. You are not here to simply be yourself. You are here to build yourself, brick by brick. There may be a deep sense of invisibility or pressure from an early age, a feeling of being older than your years, born serious, quiet, or watchful, or challenges with self-expression or physical confidence, especially in youth. Or you may struggle to feel seen, worthy, or safe without proving yourself. And people with this placement often feel like they were born into responsibility. Even as children, life seems to require maturity, not for approval, but for survival. And the psychological patterns you may feel is hyper self-awareness. You are acutely tuned to how other people perceive you, and your inner critic, a tendency to judge your own appearance, decisions, or presence harshly. Also about self-protection through detachment, not because you don't feel, but because you feel too much and fear being exposed. Here often produce some people who don't fit early in life and spend years trying to prove they are worthy of taking up space. But Saturn's message is very clear here. You don't need to perform selfhood. You need to earn it through truth, discipline, and inner authority. This house is about learning to inhabit your incarnation fully, unapologetically, and responsibly. And the sole lesson here for you is to stop seeking permission to exist, to root into your own bones, and to know who you are, not based on raw image or validation, but based on self-possession. You are here to embody maturity, not to rush ahead, but to walk each step with clarity. When you embrace your slow becoming, you stop feeling like an outsider. You realize, I was never meant to fit. I was meant to lead through authenticity. If you are experiencing Saturn return, that often is a total breakdown of identity and a rebuild from the ground up. You may change your appearance dramatically, leave a career or relationship that were never really yours, facing health, body image, or confidence challenges that force you to realign how you treat your physical vessel. The first Saturn return is saying the mask is finished. Who you are without performance. Who are you when no one is watching? And the second return around 58 to 60 is very powerful. You no longer question your rights to be here. You become an elder in your presence, someone who moves from essence, not ego. And the gift Saturn return brings you with deep presence and inner leadership, authority that doesn't need to be shown, longevity of character. You don't burn out, you endure. Power in simplicity. You become most magnetic when you stop trying to impress. You are the stone in the river, not here to chase trends, but to become a landmark for others on their path. And the mantra for you: I take full responsibility for being myself. My identity is not a performance, it is a sacred becoming. If you have Saturn in the second house, it is the root of worth, building security from the inside out. The second house governs the realms of resources, including money, possessions, personal values, and self-worth. It is where we ask, what do I need to feel secure in this world? And deeper still, what do I believe I worth? When Saturn is in your second house, it signals a karmic journey around value, both material and internal. Early in life, you often feel like lack, financial hardship, or scarcity. Inherited belief like money is hard, or you must earn love. Conditional self-worth based on achievements, appearance, or performance. So with this placement, you may struggle with money management or develop obsessive control over finance. You swing between overspending and extreme saving. The fear depending on others, and equally fear not being enough on your own. The tide your self-esteem to productivity, income, or external makers of success. But we know Saturn is not here to punish. He is here to reveal what is sustainable. His message is security must be rooted in being, not having. And the psychological patterns of the belief that your worth must be proven, or difficult receiving, either that is love, help, or compensation, without guilt or discomfort, and over responsibility, a compulsion to take care of others financially or emotionally, often at your own expense. The shame around poverty or wealth, very often connected to ancestral trauma. So this house reflects the soul memories. Perhaps in the past life you lost everything or misused resources. Now you are here to build slowly, wisely, and with integrity. So Saturn in the second house is here to teach you that true security is internal, and your karmic task is to separate self-worth from material wealth, to align your life with values that reflect your soul, not just survival, and learn to steward resources, not hoard or avoid them, to claim abundance, not just money, but time, presence, and enoughness. So the ultimate task is, what are you truly worth when everything external is stripped away? And your answer becomes the foundation of your entire incarnation. So during the first Saturn return, you will likely face financial awakening or restructuring. A sudden loss, debt, or crisis may strip false stability away. You may leave an unfulfilling job to align with meaningful work. You may finally begin saving, investing, or creating sustainable income. And you confront your inherited money stories and choose a new narratives. Emotionally, this is a time of reclaiming your worth. It is less about being rich and more about being sovereign. And during the second Saturn return, you reflect on what you have built, not just financially, but in self esteem. Have you created a life aligned with your values? Can you receive the fruit of your work without guilt? Are you at peace with your enoughness? This is where money becomes medicine, not measurement. The gift of this return is slow, steady builders of wealth and confidence, deep respect for the sacredness of the material world, ability to teach others how to value themselves and their time, and to anchor values that don't sway with trends. You don't chase shiny things. You build treasure in your value, your work, and your integrity. The mantra for you: my worth is not earned, it is remembered. I build my life on values that reflect my truth. If you have Saturn in your third house, that is the weight of words, crafting thought with precision, communicating with purpose. The third house governs the mind, not in the abstract, philosophical sense that is in the ninth house, but in the daily mechanic of thought, communication, language, speaking, writing, and learning. It also rules sibling, early education, and the immediate environment, how you move through your local world and make sense of it. So this house answer: how do I think, speak, and process life? How do I relate to ideas, information, and those closest to me? When Saturn occupies the third house, the process of mental development and communication become a soul task. It is not just about intelligence, but maturity of mind. Early in life, you may experience difficulty with speech or learning, especially speaking in public, writing, or being heard. A sense of being intellectually slow or overlooked, even if you are deeply perceptive. A strict or silent household where curiosity was discouraged, or sibling rivalry or emotional distancing in early family dynamic. You may have internalized the belief that your thoughts don't matter, or worse, that your voice causes disruption. So you learn to hold back, to filter, to observe rather than engage. But Saturn is not here to silence you. He is here to refine your perception, so that what you say has weight. The patterns you can look at are the inner critic that censors or shuts down spontaneous thought, the fear of sounding stupid or saying the wrong thing, over preparation before speaking, or total silence in important moments. Trust issues with siblings, neighbors, or peers. You may have been the one who listened more than you shared. In time, this placement produces profound thinkers. Your words become few but potent. Here, the philosopher in plain clothes, the writer who draft never see light until they are ready, the speaker who pauses and makes silence meaningful. That means your soul come here to reclaim the voice, not just vocally, but mentally, energetically, and spiritually. The karmic lessons is to trust your own perception of the world, to take your time with thought, but don't hide behind perfectionism, to break free from fear-based filters that were installed in childhood, and to use your word with care, clarity, and service. Saturn is saying you are not here to speak more, you are here to speak true. So when this placement matures, you become a channel of precision, not loud but impactful, not reactive but grounded. And during the first Saturn return, expect a radical reorientation of communication and thought. You may write a book, start teaching, or finally speak the truth you have suppressed, or leave behind roles where your voice were limited. Heal a sibling relationship, or confront a family silence that weighed on your psyche, or to change how you think, moving from fear or fragmentation towards cohesion and focus. Your thoughts become tools during this time for healing, building, and shaping reality. By the time of the second Saturn return, the mind becomes an instrument of service. You may become a mentor guide or writer of lasting wisdom. Use your experience to teach others how to think with discernment and to release anxiety about communication and learn to trust silence as much as speech. Saturn here teach when the mind is clear, the voice becomes a gift. And these gifts are deep thinkers and patient writers, unique learning method, often autodidact or lifelong students, skilled editors, teachers, translators, or speech mentors, voices of integrity in a noisy world. You say less, but it means more. You were not born to entertain. You were born to inform with soul. The mantra for you: my thoughts are sacred. My words are bridges. I speak not to be heard, but to awaken truth. If you have Saturn in the fourth house, the roots and the walls, healing the foundation, building a home within. The fourth house governs your emotional foundation, your home, your family of origin, your ancestry, and your inner private world, and the root of your sense of belonging. It is not what the world sees, it is where you go to feel safe. So in the chart, it is the midnight point, the deepest part of a soul's map. It speaks to early life conditioning, family dynamics, mother or father, depending on the system you use, and your core ability to self-nurture. When Saturn sits in the fourth house, the soul enters this life with a karmic assignment around emotional security. Early life may carry a sense of emotional coldness or neglect. A parent who was absent, controlling, emotionally distant, or overburdened. A home that felt rigid, serious, or unsafe. Having to grow up fast, becoming emotionally self-sufficient at a young age. Even if your caregiver were present, there might have been an emotional war. This teach a child you can't depend on comfort. You must hold yourself together. As an adult, this can manifest as difficulty being vulnerable, control issues around the home or family, feeling emotionally disconnected or numb, or a deep inner loneliness, even when surrounded by people. Saturn here brings weight to the heart, not to crush it, but to strengthen its roots. The psychological patterns of fear of being a burden to others, hyper-independence or discomfort with needing care, loyalty to dysfunctional family patterns, I must keep the peace, or to struggles in creating or sustaining a physical home that feels safe, beautiful, or stable. Sometimes the home is unstable, maybe many moves or broken household. Other times it is frozen in transition or expectation. But always, Saturn in the fourth house carries a longing. When will I finally feel at home, not just around me, but within me? So your soul lessons is to come here to learn emotional self-mastery, not repression, but rootedness. You are not here to bypass your emotional wounds. You are here to understand them, hold them, reparent yourself, and eventually become the sanctuary you never had. This is the sacred work of Saturn in the fourth house, to transform pain into depths and aloneness into inner authority. Your strength is not forged in public, it is cultivated in silence, in how you smooth yourself and how you hold your own heart. During your first Saturn return, the emotional body demands truth. You might move homes, renovate, or confront long buried family issues, or the end or transform a codependent living situation. Begin inner child work, therapy, or ancestral healing. You may experience illness, estrangement, or grief that force you back into the body, back into the root. This return often brings the reconstruction of your emotional foundation. By your second Saturn return, you may downsize, simplify, or return to your root on your own terms. Become the wise elder in your family, even if you were once the scapegoat. To live more inwardly, quietly, surrounded by peace you build for yourself. Teach others, not through words, but through your grounded presence, what emotional security really feels like. The gift Saturn brings is deep ancestral wisdom and memory, the ability to hold space for others in pain because you have walked through your own, a true strength, not loud but unshakable, the capacity to build home, literal or energetic, that are structured, sacred, and healing. Saturn here is the gardens of the heath. You are the one who redefines family, who heals generational trauma, who makes home something holy. A mantra for you: I am my own safe place. What I was not given, I now create. My roots grow deep into truth. If you have Saturn in the fifth house, the discipline of joy, creativity, romance, and reclaiming the inner flame. The fifth house rules joy, creativity, fertility, performance, risk-taking, and children, both literal and symbolic. It is where you express the soul. It governs the solar sparks within you, your desire to shine, to love, to create for no other reasons than because it feels good. It is the house of inner child, of divine play, of unapologetic self-expression. With Saturn in your fifth house, the lightness of being becomes a karmic classroom. Joy, love, and expression may feel like inhabited or self-conscious, especially in youth. The tide to achievement, I am only lovable when I succeed, is shadowed by rejection, shame, or harsh criticism, often from parents or early authority figures. The burdened by the fear that pleasure is frivolous, selfish, or unsafe. You may avoid romantic intimacy unless it is serious. Struggle with performance anxiety or fear of artistic failure. Feel creatively blocked, comparing yourself to others. Approach parenting or the idea of children with great responsibility, fear, or caution. This doesn't mean you lack joy, only that joy has been complicated by karma. But Saturn is not here to deny you happiness neither. He is here to teach you to honor joy as sacred work. And some psychological pattern you can look at, such as the fear of being seen as too much, too loud, or not talented enough. Love avoidance. You hold back affection until it is proven safe. Self-judgment in creative expressions. Perfectionism, procrastination, or quiet resentment. Intensity around romance. Love may arrive as a karmic entanglement, teacher or soul mirror, rarely casual. You may long to be seen, but fear what that visibility may expose, so you retreat into control. But Saturn, he whispers, it is not performance that matters. It is the courage to express your true fire. So this is the house where your soul comes to reclaim your right to joy. The karmic lessons is to heal the inner child, not by indulging, but by parenting it with love. To trust that creativity is not indulgence, it is transmission. Letting go of idea that romance must equal permanence. Relearn how to play without apology, without outcome. So Saturn asks, can you be radiant without guarantee? Can you love without condition? Can you create without fear? This placement teaches that true brilliance is not found in performance, it is found in presence. And the first Saturn return often marks a creative or romantic awakening or reckoning. You might end a relationship where you were not fully seen or safe. Finally, birth a creative project you have delayed for years. Or to confront fears of parenting, step into the role with a new level of depth and begin healing joy itself, recovering play, sensuality, or inspiration after long periods of burnout. It may feel like you are recovering from decades of disconnection from yourself. And you are. But what emerged now is authentic light. During the second Saturn return, joy becomes discipline in the best way. You may become a teacher or mentor of the arts, romance, or child rearing. Embrace solo creativity with a kind of quiet mastery. Release guilt around enjoying life and rediscover a new kind of pleasure, one that is slow, sacred, and spiritually aligned. Saturn in the fifth, the second return is joy to its rightful place as a spiritual necessity, not a luxury. The gift he brings is profound creative, expressed slowly but powerfully. Romantic loyalty and depths, masterful artists, performers, or teachers who led from lived wisdom. Potential to channel joy in ways that inspire others to reclaim their own light. This is the placement of disciplined artist, the soulful lover, the playful guide who knows joy is fragile and choose to honor it. Mantra for you. My joy is not decoration, it is devotion. I express without apology because my light is sacred. If you have Saturn in the sixth house, ritual of reality, work, health, and the sacred practice of discipline. The sixth house governs your daily lives of routine, habits, service, and the system that sustain your body and your purpose. It is not the house of abstract destiny, but of practice. Here we ask, how do I take care of what I have been given? How do I serve with integrity and honor the physical limit of time, energy, and form? With Saturn in the sixth house, your soul chooses a path where discipline, health, and work are not merely practice concern. They are spiritual curricula. In early life, this often feels like a sense of burden around work, heavy jobs, over responsibility, and burnout. A nervous system that constantly on guard, as if survival depends on efficiency. Health challenges that require structure and long-term attention. A fear of failure or not doing enough, especially in service to others. You may be extremely conscientious, sometimes to the point of self-neglect, or struggle with perfectionism in your work. Resist routine or become overly rigid in your need of control. Swing between overworking and collapse. But Saturn is not here to break you. He is here to teach you the sacred rhythm of consistency. The pattern you can watch out is hypervigilance, feeling unsafe unless everything is under control. Inner matron, the belief that your value comes from self-sacrifice, or anxiety disguised as productivity. Difficulty receiving help or trusting others to contribute. You may serve tirelessly but feel unseen or even resentful. Can you serve with balance, not just to earn approval, but because it is your sacred offering? So, with Saturn in the sixth house, it teaches that discipline is not punishment, it is devotion. You are here to bring order to your life in a way that reflects your values. Learn to work smart, not just hard. To serve without self-erasure. To care for your body as a temple, not as a machine. The goal is not to be useful, The goal is to live in alignment, where your daily habits support your soul. You are learning that freedom is born not from chaos, but from structure that sustains your energy. Your first Saturn return is often a confrontation with exhaustion or avoidance. You may face a health challenge that forces new habits. Change careers to something more aligned with your purpose. Break free from work matrondom or toxic productivity, and learn to systematize your gifts, creating rituals that nourish instead of deplete. And this return is saying your life is not a machine. Slow down, honor your rhythm, build system that last. And the second Saturn return brings sacred refinement. You may mentorship others in building sustainable work-life balance. Simplify your life to focus only on what matters. Heal chronic issues with grace instead of greed. Become the wise teacher of rhythm, health, and sacred service, not through theory, but through embodied practice. And the gift is precision, discernment, and integrity in daily life. From a masterful healers, organizers, caretakers, and system builders, or quiet leadership that keep things running behind the scenes. Deep humility. You show that real spirituality is found in how we live, not what we say. You make the invisible visible, transforming habit into a holy rhythm. A mantra for you. My devotion is in the doing. I honor time, body, and service as sacred ground. If you have Saturn in the seventh house, the sacred mirror, that is commitment, karma, and the art of conscious relationship. The seventh house rules one-to-one relationship, marriage, long-term partnerships, soul contracts, and business alliance, even open enemies. This is the house of the other, not the crowd, but the singular mirror. It is where you project, bond, confront, and learn through the reflection of partnership. It is also the house of contract and balance, where we make agreements, consciously or unconsciously, to go through commitment. When Saturn here in the seventh house, relationships are never casual. You are born with a soul contract that says, I will learn who I am by meeting the other, not through fantasy, but through truth. Early in life, this often looks like fear of vulnerability or rejection, delay in finding lasting relationships, attracting emotionally unavailable, older, or karmically bound partners, a strong patterns of avoidance or over-attachment in love, or a heavy sense of responsibility around partnership, often formed in early family dynamics. So love may feel serious, difficult, even painful, but that's because you are not here to love lightly. You are here to build love on the foundation of mutual integrity. Some psychological pattern you can look at about holding yourself back in relationship out of fear of being too much, staying in relationship out of duty, not desire, confusing control with commitment, or rebellion with freedom, projecting your shadow onto your partner, especially your need for safety or structure. Saturn here doesn't allow illusion. If your partnerships are built on fantasy, Saturn will dismantle them. But when you begin to relate consciously, Saturn offers deep soul intimacy, not just in romance, but in all committed bonds. So your soul come here to evolve through relationship, to learn that commitment is not ownership, it is choice, renewed daily, that love is not always comfort, but is always sacred, that the people you attract reflect the part of you that wants healing or integration. And boundaries are an act of love, not separation. You are here to embody the truth that partnerships are not to complete you, but to mirror what's ready to be reclaimed. Saturn here is saying, can you love with integrity? Can you stay without losing yourself or live without betrayals? During your first Saturn return, expect relational truth to rise. This may involve a marriage, engagement, or serious commitment, a breakup or divorce from a relationship built on fantasy, trauma, bonding, or imbalances. A decision to walk the path alone, not from fear, but from sovereignty. Realization about how you relate. Do you overgive, avoid, control, or depend? You may attract a deeply karmic partner, someone who forces you to grow, or whom you have known in past lifetimes. So the question becomes, is this relationship supporting your truth, or is it based on unresolved fear? By the second Saturn return, relationship becomes less about romance and more about resonance. You may redefine what commitment means in love, in collaboration, in soul contracts. You may become a mentor for others navigating relational karma. You value peace, truth, and mutual evolution over appearance or status. This is when the sacred mirror becomes clear. You no longer need a partner to see yourself, but if you choose one, it is by soul alignment. The gift he brings is mastery in relationship counseling, meditation, or conscious communication. Long-lasting partnership built on depth, loyalty, and shared vision. Deep relational wisdom, especially if hard-won. The ability to hold paradox, intimacy and independence, commitment and freedom. You don't do shallow. You don't pretend. When you love, you build cathedrals out of presence. Mantra for you. I choose relationships that reflect my truth. I commit with clarity. I love with boundaries that protect freedom. If you have Saturn in the 8th house, the sacred depths, power, intimacy, and rebirth through surrender. The 8th house governs deep transformation. This includes death and rebirth, literal and symbolic, shared resources, trauma healing, intimacy, sexuality, inheritance, psychology, the occult, and all that lies beneath the surface of polite society. This is the house of energetic merging and sacred endings, where we release what we can't control and discover what truly empowers us. So he asked, what must die in order for your soul to live more fully? Where are you giving away power, and what are you ready to reclaim? With Saturn in the 8th house, it marks a soul that has chosen to learn about power through constraint and to earn intimacy through trust, not transaction. This is one of Saturn's most intense placements. It brings early or repeating confrontation with loss, betrayal, abandonment, or secrecy. A need to understand control, not just in others, but in yourself. The fear of deep emotional exposure, vulnerability feel like danger, difficulty in receiving either money, love, or trust, unless it is earned. You might resist intimacy, preferring solitude or surface connection. Feel a deep mistrust of others' motives, even those who are close to you. Carry financial fear or share resources trauma, inheritance issues, debt, divorce settlement. Swing between hyper-independence and unhealthy enmeshment. But Saturn is not here to punish. He is here to liberate your power by forcing you to face what you fear most. By looking deeply at the psychological patterns, the fear of abandonment, often masked by emotional aloofness or detachment, or a desire to control people, money, or circumstances to avoid feeling helpless. Sexual shame or control patterns, using seduction to gain power, or avoiding sexuality entirely, holding secrets, your own or others, as a form of self-protection. So Saturn in the 8th house is saying, you must descend into your shadow, not to get lost, but to recover your soul strength. Here, Saturn teaches through alchemical pressure. You are being shaped, not on the surface, but in the core. So these placements carries the karma of transformation through truth. You are here to learn that power is not control. It is presence in the unknown. Intimacy is not possession. It is resonance and trust. The past does not define you unless you refuse to face it. Trauma is not your identity, but it can become your initiation. The path of Saturn in the 8th house is not linear. It spirals, breaks, and rebuilds. You will shed skins, die symbolic death, and face moments that ask, will you collapse into fear or rise from it reborn? In your first Saturn return, it might feel like a crisis of control. This can involve the loss of a loved one or a major financial rupture, a relationship ending that exposes your deepest fear of intimacy or betrayal, sexual awakening or redefinition, stepping into your truth after years of suppression, a deep pull toward shadow work, therapy, shamanic, or spiritual healing, encounters with mortality, your own or others, that change how you live. Saturn is saying it is time to stop hiding your pain and start reclaiming your power. By the second Saturn return, you have become the one who holds space for others in transformation. You may guide others through deaths, grief, trauma, or awakening. Heal ancestral pain through ritual, forgiveness, or energetic release. Develop a powerful intuitive, sexual, or psychic capacity grounded in integrity. Find empowerment in surrender, learning that true strength comes from softening into truth. And the gift is natural shadows workers, trauma-informed guides, or grief alchemists. A deep understanding of soul contract, life-death cycles, and emotional complexity. The ability to hold space for transformation, not by fixing, but by witnessing without flinching. Profound intuitive and energetic power, but only once you have walked through the fire yourself. You are the midwife of the underworld, not because you study it, but because you survived it. A mantra for you. I do not fear the dark. I carry the light through it. I am reborn in truth, and I stand in my power without needing control. If you have Saturn in the ninth house, climbing the mountain of meaning, of beliefs, wisdom, and the maturity of truth. The ninth house rules belief system, higher education, philosophy, travel, spirituality, publishing, law, and the quest for truth. It is the part of the chart that seeks not just answer, but meaning. Here we look outward to distant land and upward to spiritual heights. It governs your worldview, how you see reality, purpose, justice, and your place in the great cosmic unfolding. With Saturn in the ninth house, your soul journey towards truth is neither fast nor easy. You do not inherit your belief, you test them, you strip them, and you rebuild them from lived experience. Early in life, you may experience a strict or dogmatic upbringings, religious, academic, and cultural, where questioning was discouraged. A sense of spiritual exile or philosophical doubt, feeling disconnected from beliefs of those around you, blocked opportunities in higher education or travel, delays, detours, or responsibility that kept you close to home, a yearning for truth that feels distant yet essential. You may be a seeker who questions everything, including yourself. But Saturn is not here to crush your faith. He is here to purify it, to help you build a belief system that can withstand time, pressure, and the dark night of the soul. And some psychological patterns to watch for. Skepticism disguised as intelligence. Fear of being wrong can become fear of believing. Philosophical insecurity. What if none of this matters? Distrust of dogma, but difficulty forming your own truth in its place. Fear of expressing your spiritual or moral views, especially if they differ from your upbringing. You may study endlessly, read every book, follow every path, yet still feel unsure, because Saturn here whispers, your truth cannot be copied, it must be earned. Saturn in the ninth house teaches you to walk your philosophy, not just speak it. You are here to find a belief system that is soul tested, not inherited. Reclaim your right to question and also your right to believe. Learn through experience, with travel, failure, education, and contradiction. Teach what you have lived and not what you have memorized. This is the house of the pilgrim teacher, the one who climbs the mountain slowly, carrying a lantern for those behind. So Saturn asks, can you believe without escaping reality? Can you seek wisdom without losing humility? The first Saturn return often brings a crisis of meaning and breakthrough of purpose. You may leave or revise long-held religions or spiritual path, return to school, or drop out of a path that was chosen for you. Begin writing, publishing, or speaking about your lived truth, or travel far geographically or internally to understand your place in the world. Confront moral dilemmas, legal situations, or cultural shifts that demand a deeper ethical compass. This spirit says you cannot keep living someone else's truth. Build your own, even if it means walking alone for a while. And during the second Saturn return, you step into the role of an elder sage. You may write, teach, or guide others in philosophy, law, or spiritual practice. Become known for your moral clarity and worldview. Release rigid beliefs in favor of experiential wisdom. Trust that truth is not a destination, it is a relationship. And the gift he brings of deep intellectual integrity and spiritual discernment. They are powerful teachers, preachers, and wisdom carriers, but only after inner doubt has been faced. Skill in bridging the mystical and the practical. Long-distance visionaries who can hold global, cosmic, and cross-cultural understanding. You are not just a student of life. You are a builder of wisdom. Mantra for you. I build my truth through experience. My beliefs are not borrowed. They are forged in soul-tested wisdom. If you have Saturn in the 10th house, the summit and the weight, ambition, mastery, and the legacy of integrity. The 10th house governs your career, public role, legacy, reputation, authority, and contribution to society. It is the house of what you build in the world, how you climb, how you lead, and what you leave behind. Also known as midheaven, it represents your soul peak expression in this life, and not who you are in private, but who you are when the world is watching. With Saturn in the 10th house, the very house he naturally rules, the soul has chosen the path of public accountability, leadership, and karmic responsibility. From a young age, this often feels like a deep pressure to succeed, sometimes self-imposed, sometimes projected by family. feeling judged or elevated before you are ready, being seen as a responsible one, the achiever or the example, the internal fear of failure or of never living up to your own potential. You may tie your self-worth to status, recognition, or performance. Work harder than everyone else, yet still doubt your success. Hide behind professionalism while starving emotionally. Resist stepping into leadership out of fear of public failure. But Saturn here is not about status, it is about structure. You are not here to rise quickly, you are here to rise right. The psychological patterns to look at, such as professionalism and imposter syndrome. I am never enough, no matter what I do. Workaholism or identity over identification with career. Fear of being seen failing, especially by family or authority figures. Suppressed vulnerability. If I stop being the strong one, who will I be? You might not feel truly safe until you have proven yourself, and yet the proving never seems to end. So Saturn says, it is not what you build that defines you, it is how you build it. The soul lessons for you is to redefine authority, not as dominance or power, but as earned wisdom in service to the world. You are here to build a life of lasting value, not fleeting fame. Become the authority you never had with integrity, not ego. To build by example, not by force. And commit to a vocation that reflects your soul's intention, not just your resume. So Saturn asks, what are you building and who are you becoming in the process? This house reminds us that legacy is not what you leave behind, it is what you embody now. The first Saturn return often redefines your public path. You may leave a job or career that feels hollow or misaligned. Launch a business, pursue mastery, or take on real responsibility. Face failure, demotion, or burnout, forcing you to rebuild your ambition from soul rather than from survival. Experience shift in family expectation or visibility, confronting whether you are living your truth or someone else's idea of success. So Saturn says, stop building for applause, start building for alignment. And the second Saturn return brings wisdom, clarity, and authority. If you have done the inner work, you may become a mentor, leader, or elder guide in your field. Scale back your public work to reflect deeper values. Choose legacy over ambition, meaning over metrics. Lead not with status, but with soul integrity. This is when your work becomes your teaching and your life becomes your legacy. The gift he brings is masterful capacity for long-term achievement, ethical, grounded leadership, deep trustworthiness. People look to you when stakes are high, and the ability to build system, structure, and vision that last. You are the mountain builder, the one who takes the long path up, but arrives carrying something eternal. And the mantra for you, I rise with integrity. I lead by example. My legacy is not what I leave, it is what I live. Saturn in the 11th house, the time travelers and visions builders in community, contribution, and the discipline of hope. The 11th house governs groups, social movement, long-term goals, community, networks, humanitarian causes, technology, and the future. It represents your role in the collectives, not as a cog in the machine, but as a conscious contributor to something greater than yourself. The house answer, how do I belong to humanity? What future am I helping to create, and with whom? With Saturn in the 11th house, you are here to build the future slowly, responsibly, and authentically. You carry karmic lessons around friendships, community, and belonging. In early life, they may manifest as feeling like an outsider in peer groups or school, the serious one, the old soul, or observer, struggles with trust or loyalty in friendships, longing for community, but fear of rejection or being misunderstood, difficulty aligning with mainstream trends, movements, or ideas. You may prefer solitude to shallow connection, feel disillusioned by social structure or groupthink, work tirelessly for a cause but feel unsupported or alone, or struggle to believe that your vision or presence is enough to make a difference. But Saturn is not here to exile you. He is here to help you become a grounded visionary, someone who doesn't just dream of utopia, but build it brick by brick. The psychological patterns you can look at, such as fear of being too weird, too idealistic, or too much for others, difficulty trusting groups or forming lasting friendships, oscillation between overcommitting to movement or retreating into isolation, a private sense of disappointment in humanity, paired with a secret desire to still help. So Saturn here whisper, stop waiting to belong. Start building what you wish existed. Your soul come here to serve the collective with authenticity, to learn that your uniqueness is not a burden, it is your gift. That real belonging doesn't come from conformity, but from shared values and mutual respect. That your visions are not too big, they just need structure and time. That contributing to the future is our responsibility, not our performance. So you are here to transform isolation into integration, to become an architect of a new reality, starting with your own alignment. The first Saturn return may confront you with questions like, who are my true people? What causes am I aligned with, and which have I outgrown? Am I creating a future I believe in, or chasing others' goals? You may end toxic friendships or group affiliations, step into a leadership or structural role in the collectives, movement, or online community. Begin building long-term goals with discipline and realism. Revisit your relationship with technology, network, and visibility. This return says stop longing for a tribe. Become a foundation others can gather around. And the second Saturn return often see you as a guide for younger generations. You may mentor new leaders, activists, artists, or innovators. Write or teach about the value that shaped your life. Transition from striving to stewarding, shaping legacy through contribution, not recognition. Find joy in aligned community, not just being seen, but seeing others fully. The gift is from visionary leadership rooted in practicality. Strong community building skills. Once trust is earned, long-range thinkers who can hold the big picture without losing the steps. Deep loyal friends and collaborators, though few in number, their presence is lasting. You are the quiet reformer, the vice futurist, the one who sees a better world and learns how to create the systems that make it possible. A mantra for you. I serve the future through structure. I belong by being myself. I build community through truth. If you have Saturn in your 12th house, the guidance of the threshold, it is about isolation, karma, and mastery of surrender. The 12th house is the realm of unseen, unconscious, and infinite. It governs dreams, mysticism, isolation, retreat, the collective unconscious, spiritual service, and self-undoing. Also about past life karma and the oceanic realms of consciousness beyond the ego. It is where the soul dissolves boundaries, not to escape, but to reunite with the divine. In many traditions, the 12th house is considered the house of moksha, the spiritual liberation. But first it asks, what must be dissolved before you can truly remember who you are? With Saturn in the 12th house, the soul enters with unfinished karmic lessons tied to hidden fears, spiritual responsibility, and the tension between isolation and immersion. This is one of Saturn's most difficult and ultimately most masterful placements. In early life, this may feel like profound loneliness, even when not physically alone. Feeling different, invisible, or unable to fully understood. Fear of losing control. The mind, time, identity, or space. A subconscious resistance to surrender, yet a longing for transcendence. You may be prone to escapism, either through addiction, fantasy, dissociation as a defense against overwhelming emotion. Avoid stillness or spiritual practice due to repressed guilt, or fear. Have difficulty sleeping, meditating, or trusting unseen realms. Or struggle with boundaries in spiritual service, absorbing collective pain or carrying karmic burden. But Saturn here is not here to trap you in suffering. He is the guardian of your awakening, and his key is discipline, surrender, and sacred solitude. Some psychological patterns to watch out for, such as deep fear of abandonment by the divine or by life itself, guilt or shame around past actions, sometimes carry from one lifetimes. over-identification with service of matrondom. I must suffer to be good. Suppressed spiritual gift, especially clairvoyance, channeling, or healing due to past trauma. Saturn in the 12th house says your greatest fear is not that you will be lost, but that you will be found and still not be free. This house is not about doing, it is about being emptied so that the divine can flow through you. The soul lessons here is to master the art of conscious surrender. Learn that the boundaries are essential even in spiritual work. Solitude is not punishment, it is preparation. Karmic clearing requires time, silence, and forgiveness. And service without self-abandonment is a sacred path. These placements turn you into a bridge between worlds. But first, you must learn to stand on solid ground within yourself. Saturn teaches you to trust the invisible, not as fantasy, but as real responsibility. The first Saturn return often brings a deep unraveling of identity. You may retreat from public life voluntarily or due to burnout, illness, or loss. Enter a time of solitude, meditation, therapy, or spiritual apprenticeship. Experience vivid dreams, psychic awakening, or past life memory recall. Confront mental health issues that demand rest, honesty, and healing. This time may feel like the dark night of the soul, but it is not an ending. It is a cleansing. By the second Saturn return, the soul is weathered and wise. You may become a spiritual leader, healer, mystic, or channeler, not by title, but by essence. Simplify life dramatically, shedding ego and ambition. Guide others through unseen terrain with humility, presence, and grace. Rest into trust, knowing that your existence is enough, even in stillness. Gift he brings is profound mystical insight and healing capacity, deep karmic wisdom, especially around suffering, service, and spiritual awakening. Sensitivity to unseen realms, such as dreams, spirit, collective energy. Potential to become a true spiritual leader, not flashy, but real. You are the keeper of the gate, the one who walks between worlds, not as escape, but as vocation. A mantra for you. I surrender what I cannot carry. I rest in the sacred unknown. In emptiness, I return to wholeness.